it's all um, derived from the sky clock.
Yeah.
You know,
It's crazy to
how
me.
the society functions and how it's governed and how it organizes itself and the rules and the laws and all of that. It's all sky law, you know.
Mm,
And that's why I'm like, well, we should pretty much know then how to speak that language,
yeah.
shouldn't we? Right? But
Mm,
therein lies those that do have that knowledge control those that don't.
yeah.
And most people don't, so therefore most people are controlled. And they're so clever in the way it's been constructed that people that are controlled don't even know they are.
Hello and welcome back to a Woman Refined podcast. So happy to have you here. I'm your host, as always, Lauren Renee. And this time on the podcast for this very special episode, we have astrologer and past life regressionist Luke Balcke. And I'm really, really excited to share this episode with you. I love astrology and I love the esoteric stuff. I love these kind of spiritual chats. And we just talk about all the cool things. Luke's pretty awake and aware, and he knows what's going on, this man. He is very talented and very down to earth. And that is a deadly combo. So if you like this episode, I'd love to hear about it. Please send me a like, share, 5 star, subscribe, send me a review, send me an email, a woman refined podcast at gmail.com, or shoot me a DM. If you want to have someone else on and that you know of and you think, geez, I want to hear what they have to say, Lauren's really good at pulling those things out of people, send me that as well. You can send me a DM on Instagram, a_woman_refined. Would love to hear about it. And if you could do those like, share, and subscribe things, it really helps the algorithm to push me up so more people can hear these things. And not that I make any money from this, it's not what this is about. I just love doing it and I do it for the love of it. And I just want to share with as many people as I can. So I super appreciate you listening and I super appreciate all of your support. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode with Luke Bell. Luke, welcome to a Woman Refined podcast. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting because for me, there's a certain genre of people that I've had on so far that are like in a similar realm on the internet. And I've branched out a little bit over here and I'm branching out a little bit over here with you. And it's
Cool.
going to be great because you and I align on so much. Not only do we have very similar music tastes, which I want to ask you about actually
Yeah,
later on.
yeah,
But we have similar political views, shall we say?
good.
We align on some stuff that went down a few years ago,
Sure.
and I am just a really big fan of your style of astrology. And
Thank
what I mean by your style is like your delivery and understanding of astrology. It is not some woo woo like love and light bullshit. You are just so genuine and so real. And I freaking froth on it. I love it. I'm like, I can't get
you.
enough.
Well, that's nice to know. Yeah, no, I had a pretty decent upbringing, I reckon. So I could thank my parents for that and my siblings. I reckon it was a pretty well-rounded Australian upbringing. And fair income, true blue Aussie. And yeah, when I went through my spiritual awakening and I started looking into, esotericism and spirituality and then astrology and things like that, just fucking made sense to me.
Mm,
But I like to sort of deliver it in a way that I understand it and that's
yeah.
applicable to life because yeah, there's a lot of new age that's just fucking woo.
Mm,
And I look at the wisdom keepers of the past that sort of passed down the wisdom of astrology
mm,
through the eons, fucking rolling around in their graves. Going, what the fuck are you doing with this?
yeah.
Um, but I think that's when, it goes into mass culture and even from a financial perspective, it tends to dilute and obscure it, and it's sad in a way. But I feel like it needs to be more accessible to everyone and not just the
Mm,
people that are leaning in a particular direction.
yeah. What were you doing before you decided to do this?
I was a pest controller.
So
Um,
totally unrelated.
Completely unrelated, yeah. I left school not knowing what I wanted to do, knowing that I didn't want to be a builder.
Mm,
My dad was a builder, and my brother did an apprenticeship to become a builder, and I worked alongside them as a laborer.
mm,
And I just didn't want to put myself through that. I didn't have the patience for it, and I saw what my older brother went through, and I was just like, nah, I don't want to do that. But yeah, I was good at school, but lost interest in grade 11 and 12. So
yeah.
when I left school, I went and worked at the snow for a season as a lift operator and just, partied up and had fun and drunk and did all those things. And I got through that year and I said to my dad, this is not good because how the fuck do you survive? Like I can't live.
Mm,
I was going literally on the Wednesday we'd get paid. We'd go to the pub that night and then you'd live fucking baked beans till next Wednesday.
mm,
So my old man was transitioning from building to building inspecting and
mm,
doing pre-purchase inspections for people buying houses. And
yeah.
he's at that time he said, "Why don't you get your pest license and be the pest guy doing termite inspections?" And I was like, oh, "Okay." And that was a pretty simple process. So I went and did that. And then at I think the age of 19, maybe around there, I went into earning like I don't know, $400 or $500 a week as a lift operator to earning between 2.5 and 3 grand a week as a pestie.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I did that for a few years, and then I sold everything up and went and lived in London for 3 years. And when I
Mm,
got home from that journey, I set up my own pest control business, and I did that for about over 10 years, and that took me to my spiritual awakening. And I'd since sort of had a lot of advice from a lot of mentors and some wise people and some mediums to sort of say, thank fuck you awoken because that job was going to kill you.
yeah. All the,
Yeah, all the pesticides and just
yeah.
mainly the stress, really.
Mm,
Yeah, a lot of stress. I think that's why my hair fell out.
fair
That and my
enough.
dad's bald. Yeah,
Genetics
so
first.
yeah, like, from pest controller to
Mm,
astrologer, pretty massive transition.
yeah.
And going through all of that, I was going around, fumbling around in the dark, trying to find my own way.
Mm,
And astrology was a tool that I discovered and started to learn about and learn through about myself through it. And
mm,
when I got on the other side of that journey, I was like, well, I can use this tool to help people.
yeah.
And that's what I'm here to do. And I really didn't set out to become an astrologer at all, even through my awakening journey. It just drew me in, and yeah, it really makes sense. And
Yeah.
it's like a language, and when you understand the language, the fucking reality, the world, the universe, it speaks to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think it should be accessible to everyone. We should all, I think fundamental to human nature is that we should have this language. Yes, we
Mm,
should speak a language we can understand to communicate, but this is the language the universe speaks,
mm.
and we're of the universe. So why aren't we taught this? You know?
Well, it was taught for so long to everyone in antiquity, in particular. It was
Mm,
like an essential part of their learning. Like astrology and astronomy were very interwoven, and it wasn't like separate, and one was like crackpot and one was like science. It was like they understood that this is how the world worked for a very long time.
100%. And you couldn't be like a medicine person or a doctor, or even have any sort of strategic sort of power within military if you didn't have understanding of astrology.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day because the level of entertainment that you would have had back then was, let's say, vastly limited than what we have now. So you're doing nothing but like staring up at the sky most of the time, contemplating life, contemplating how we got here and what's going on. So it
Mhm.
makes sense to me that this kind of was more at the forefront of like people's life experience. It was like harder to ignore, harder to be like, that doesn't affect me. Because it was very obvious, I think, to a lot of people that it did affect them because they were more in tune with what was actually happening. And I
Mhm.
think that's like a key factor is like that people were having real life experiences of astrology in their day-to-day life. Not that we're not having that now, but there was an awareness of that happening. So it was like, how could you deny that? How could you deny that this is happening?
Yeah. And we've been dumbed down
Mm,
and distracted and entertained. And
mm,
it's the bread and circus, the
yeah.
collapse of the Roman Empire, and they give them bread and circus,
Mm,
and yeah, that's what they've been doing. And yeah, we've like even though astrology is never not there, it's never not part of reality. It's not something, but it's I guess its influence within society and culture has definitely gone through,
mm,
ebbs and flows. It's definitely making a renaissance at the moment, in a big way. But it's fighting against this overshadowed, sort of dumbed down, weakened mind, distracted,
mm.
entertained masses, you know?
I'm
So,
really enjoying seeing the amount of men that are now coming towards astrology because for so long in the last, I don't know, 50 years or so, it was very much like that's a woman's thing, It's like a girly pursuit that's like not real,
mm,
basically. But I've just seen so many men that I respect now have really come towards astrology. And I saw like some astrologers, like they picked 2020 and what was going to happen, like spot on.
yeah,
And for me, that was like, okay, this is going to make people sit up and listen. And because people were like, how, looking for answers. And they're like, how did you know? Or like,
mm,
could this have been stopped? Could this have been prevented? Who could have seen this coming? And there's a bunch of people being like, I saw this shit coming. I
yeah,
saw it coming a mile away. And I was telling people, but
yeah,
no one was listening. So I think the last the last 5 years, I totally agree. There's been like a real renaissance towards astrology. I think that there's what's interesting I'm finding is the divide between Vedic and Western astrology. And I don't really understand like because everyone is like, no, my one, it's like a denomination, in religion. And like everyone's like, my one's the right one. Um,
yeah,
so I don't really like I've had readings for both. And what was
mm,
fun, I was literally just talking about this with a friend before I came came on here. She brought it up, not me, which was I was like, oh, how funny that I'm about to sit and talk with you about this, and here I am talking to her about it.
yeah,
But in both of my
yeah,
readings, they both talked about the same characteristics that I had, even though
mhm.
they were in different signs. I was like, that's funny that they're still interpreting my personality exactly the same, even though you're saying that they're in different signs. So I was like,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah.
maybe that doesn't even matter. Maybe it's just I am going to be that regardless.
Sometime when you're learning, what a good thing to do is to actually take the signs out of the picture and just interpret the planets and their
Mm,
relationship to one another.
mm,
And you can gain a lot just from looking at that. Look
mm,
at the planets as actors or actresses that are aspects of us that we have access to, that we can
mm,
call upon. The warrior or the temptress or the
mm,
wise sage or the teacher.
mm,
And then they're cloaked in a costume, right?
mm,
And the costume that they wear is different for everyone based on what sign they were in.
mm,
So in the Western system, they might have been cloaked in the lion, Leo,
mm,
and then you go into the Vedic system, and now it's wearing the shell of the crab.
mm,
But it's the same quality, right? The same
mm,
actor, it's just wearing different clothes. So you
mm,
can look at it like that. And then these actors and actresses, they stand on the stage in a certain position
mm,
and they talk or communicate with one another in a certain way.
mm,
And that's the houses, which is where they are, that's the stage. And then how they communicate to one another, that's the aspects that they make. And
mm,
are they yelling at each other? Are they fighting each other? Or are they harmonious and like supporting each other?
mm,
So you look at modern like Hollywood,
mm.
and the really good casting agents and the really good directors and things, they're all occultists. They all know how
Yes.
to cast the right people in. And that the way in which the movies unfold and all of that is definitely sort of
Mm,
underpinned, supported astrologically, without a doubt.
I've heard all of this as well about like the elite, especially in the royal families, that they have like their own astrologers and like homeopaths and things like that. Like they all know that this is real and that this is valid. And like I've heard about astrologers planning certain war tactics in the past that were being, don't attack this day, attack that day, attack over here, almost
Hmm.
astrocartography in that sense. Um, which I just find, in my conspiracy minded like interests, I find that stuff fascinating, particularly because I have an interest in ancient history as well.
Mm.
I find that stuff fascinating because then you'll have like layman people who are like, it's not real. And I'm like, if it's not real, surely the most well resourced people in the world would not be using it. Like, surely if it was fake, they would not be interested. Why would you, if you're a royal and you have access to every resource possible, you have all the money, you have all the information, why would you have a homeopath and a royal astrologer and all this? I mean, like Queen Elizabeth the First had an astrologer that was like, excuse me,
Going deep.
really,
Mm.
yeah, really like calling the shots.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing. So the people that are skeptical, they're
Mm,
skeptical because they've been conditioned to be skeptical.
mm. And
That
they're
the
Geminis.
education system has ostracized and outcast astrology and made it pseudoscience
Mm,
and gave it us the real generic, non-specific horoscopes in magazines and newspapers.
yeah.
That's to the extent that most people get astrology right, and they're like, that's shit." So it's easy to dismiss by very good like virtue, and it's designed that way
Mm,
because they don't want the masses unknowing this knowledge of self. So
mm.
they're not going to give you the keys to your freedom
Yep.
in the system that they've designed to entrap you. And
100%.
astrology is one of those keys, definitely one of those keys, the key of self-knowledge. Um, so yeah, and it's not just royals, it's politicians and it's
Mm,
corporate leaders.
mm,
Most recently, Ronald Reagan there was an attempt on his life when he was a sitting prime minister, so he brought in his astrologer into the White House to aid him on when to announce certain things that he was going to do or
mm,
legislations and speeches and things like that. Her name was Joan Quigley. She's a very famous astrologer. She was like his
mm,
personal astrologer. And then you've got people like Elon Musk. So Elon Musk is a Cancerian, and it's
mm.
speculated, because we don't know his birth time, the people have tried to work it out, but that he's Aries rising, which would give him a natural birth chart, which makes sense
Yeah.
to me. I
It
think he
makes
would be an
sense to
Aries
me
rising.
too. He's got the
Right.
balls of
So,
an Aries.
okay. So if you look at his Tesla, the logo for Tesla is pretty much the Aries symbol.
Yeah.
It's red, and in Tesla, the only number that's in the word Tesla for the S is actually a five.
Mm.
Five is the Kabbalistic number for the planet Mars. Mars is the planet that rules Aries. Where
Aries
does Elon want to send his rockets to
to
inhabit? He
Mars.
wants to go to Mars. He bought Twitter. Twitter is a symbol of Gemini. So, because it's about communication and it's about
Mm,
little bits of information being shared, right?
mm,
So, that's a Gemini thing. When Mars, a couple of years ago, 2023, was retrograding in Gemini, Elon Musk took over Twitter,
mm,
right? He acquired it and took over at that point. So, that's for me, that's enough to say he is an occultist,
mm,
right? Initiated into high order, whether it's Freemasonic or it's some other secret
mm,
society. And all of those secret societies, Freemasonic and Rosicrucian and Thelema and all those, they
mm,
all have to learn astrology. They have
mm.
to learn
Yeah.
astrology. So, the people that run the world, whoever they are, certainly not the masses, um, they know this knowledge, you
Mm.
know. They know
And
this
they,
knowledge. Why? Because if there's something happening up here and you want to
mm,
do something down here, you got to align it to that.
mm,
Because we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. We're the reflection of that.
yeah.
So if the story's going on up here and they want it to play out down here, they just put their agenda or their propaganda or whatever to align to what that was. And COVID was just one of those like blaringly obvious agendas
Mm,
aligned perfectly to the astrology.
yep.
Um, so yeah, it's in one sense it's like fuck you, in another sense it's like wow,
Fair play.
yeah,
You did well.
yeah. Fair,
Yep.
fucking fair play. They've done a good job of it.
Yep.
You know? But I'm hopeful and I'm an optimist. You know, I've got a Sag rising with Virgo sun in this in the ninth house, so I'm very optimistic, and I'm optimistic that we're finally at a point where we can transition away from that dark shit,
Yeah.
and
Well,
humanity can awaken.
well, 2025 is the pivotal turning point. And I've heard, so I've been in this realm of astrology and occultism for a really long time. It's been an interest of mine for, I don't know, like 20 years,
Hmm.
really long time. And I have a particular psychic that I see, and my whole family sees him, and we've seen him since I was 18 years old, and has predicted everything. And he doesn't predict the future in the sense of like, he can tell what's going to happen because we have so much free will. He can read the energetic time frame that you're on, your line that you're going on right now based on your current energetics.
Hmm.
So he can, he can tell me what's happening if I continue on this projection.
Hmm.
But if I make a decision that takes me off into a different decision, then he can't see that, but he might say there's a choice coming up, something like that.
Right.
But he has been someone who has been spot on with everything, and I mean everything in my life at least. And he was talking to me about 2025, I think in like 2015. He was
Mm.
like, 2025 is the turning point. He's like, we're going to go through some dark shit. 2025 is going to be absolutely chaotic because he was talking about like Pluto in Aquarius and all this kind of stuff happening, and the truth is coming out and everything's going to get exposed. It's like a rebirth that's happening right now. It's like the last gasp of, whatever this bullshit has been. And then it's going to be a decision that we as humanity have to make right now of like, which way are we going to go? Are we going to go back to sleep? Or are we going to go into the light? But it's going to be painful. And we have to make that choice to step towards the pain with faith and
Mm.
with trust and with love and with grace and forgiveness, and knowing that we're going to have to go through a lot. It's like, a betrayal in a relationship. And you're like, I have to now work at this. If I want to make this work, I'm going to have to really go into the shadows and like pull it all out. There's no holds barred now. We can't hide behind anything. We can't say that, this is what it is when it's not. You have to be
Hmm.
completely truthful. Otherwise, it will fall apart.
Mm.
So it's like this thing that I've been looking forward to 2025 for quite some time because I'm actually quite hopeful about it. I feel like I have faith in humanity. I really do. I feel like I feel like the critical mass point, the 12%, I feel like we're well above it, and it'll
Mm.
just take time
Mm.
in order for that to like flow on to the mainstream.
Mm.
But I think there's still always going to be the resistance, the balance, whatever you want to call it, the NPCs. I think they will all still that'll still be there, and I think there will be a death rattle. But I've been like feel like I've been on a knife's edge for this year for so long, and I feel really excited that we're here. And like, look at all the stuff that's coming to light now. I'm like, yes. This is brilliant. Like everybody is getting exposed, and it's not one side or the other. It's like across the board.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
to me is like really exciting. I got a stellium in Aquarius. I am like so keen for all of this stuff to like, I'm like, let's go towards the future. Let's
Yeah.
move.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, it's interesting. Like there's so much that we could go through with that in particular. And it's not just Pluto and Aquarius, it's, Neptune into Aries and Saturn conjunction, and then it's Gemini, Uranus into Gemini as well, and they're all lining up as well. So it's still going to be a grind. You talk about the NPC aspect. They've never shaped reality in the future, so
Yeah.
we've just got to realize that, and they're always going to be there. And in
Mm.
any big transition, there's going to be casualties, as there were through COVID and
Mm.
still are.
Mm.
And we've got to accept that there'll be casualties.
Yeah.
And it's going to come to a choice, like you say. And I'm optimistic as well that there's enough percentage on the critical mass or the tipping point side
Mm.
to just move us in that direction. That doesn't say that those within dark agendas aren't going to try their best to, control that or obscure it
Yeah.
or direct it. But ultimately, I think it's going to fail, whatever that they try to bring through or, you know push upon us. So, but that's not to say that people won't be caught up in it either. So,
Mm.
going to have a lot of compassion and empathy and understanding. And,
Yeah.
if this truly is the emergence of humanity into the Aquarian age, and I've said this a few times where it's like we're not waiting for the Aquarian age is waiting for humanity to wake up.
Yeah.
And,
Mm-hmm.
if this really is, then we're leaving the age of Pisces, and we have to, in order to leave the age, we have to have learned the lessons of that age.
Mm.
And one of the key teachings of Pisces is forgiveness.
Mm.
So, we've got to exercise forgiveness. Um, because we've been in an age, and probably more than one, of unconsciousness,
Mm.
asleep,
Mm.
right? And when you wake up, it's like the awakening process isn't like, it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But what you've got to understand is we've been living in unconsciousness, and unconsciousness, we fuck up, we hurt ourselves and each other, and we don't intend to do it, but we end up doing it. So when you have a different awareness, you've got to apply to that those with the less awareness or not an awakened consciousness. You got to give them forgiveness and understanding.
Mm.
It's the teaching of uh, in the Bible of Jesus saying, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." He's being persecuted and crucified, and he's saying to God, "Hey, forgive these people. They're blind. They don't know what they're doing." So, we take a leaf from that to sort of say that's one of the things we need to learn is forgiveness.
Well, he
Uh,
was the beginning age of Pisces, Jesus, when he came through. And that's, I mean, I follow Ralph Ellis's work. I don't know if you've have heard of him, but he was able to basically he was able to track the Bible and put it in a different time setting. So like shift New Testament 30 years forward, shift Old Testament 300 years. And he was like, now it actually aligns with our accepted historical accounts. And we
yeah.
can say that this is all true. But he talks about how like the reason that like the Hyksos pharaohs were shepherd kings. They don't say you're a bull worshiper. He's like, that's the moving of the Taurus to Aries. And then Jesus was like becoming a fisher of men, like a collector of men, a fisherman. He's like, that's the age of Pisces. It came through. And so it
Mhm.
was an acceptance of him being moving from Aries into Pisces. And he's like, talks about the procession, the air precession of the equinox and all that kind of stuff, and that happening. That stuff I find really fascinating, and I find it's so interesting because of the propaganda that we've been sold, especially people who are religious. And I'm not particularly religious at all, um, but I find for them that the idea that astrology is like devil worshipping and against religion, when you find there's so much of astrological um, matching, but also like explanation and um,
It's
it's in the biblical text. It's
it's
wild to me.
astrological allegory. That's what the Bible.
Yes.
It literally, that was one of the key things that made me want to look to astrology. And I was not raised religious. I was
Mm.
raised atheist. Um, but I come across Santos Bonacci's work through my journey of
Yes.
awakening,
Yeah.
and
I know
he
Santos.
spoke about astrotheology in a way that I was just like, "Holy shit, that makes so much sense!" And
Yeah.
like, of course, so that understanding of like, religion and the religious texts are astrological allegory is like, fuck, okay, there must be something to astrology.
Yeah.
Because if the religions of the world are talking about astrology through their mythology, then there must be something to astrology,
Mm.
and that was enough for me to look beyond the veil. And when I did,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, all right, I get it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah. Have you come across William Donahue? I think he's passed on
No.
now.
Oh, new person for me to
Bill
look up.
Bill Donahue, William Donahue. There's so much great content on YouTube of his old
Okay.
videos talking on astrotheology. He's
Mm.
phenomenal. And he'll tell you his thinking is there wasn't a Jesus, it's
Mm.
just allegory. There
Mm.
wasn't actually a literal man. It's just a story to help us go through the ages and
Mm.
understand, how, because the Bible, right, in this age of Pisces, if we're collectively unconscious, we need something that can be like, well, how do we live through this age of
Mm.
unconsciousness? Because if we come into the age of Aquarius, we're coming into the age of knowing.
Mm.
In the age of Pisces, we're in the age of believing, right? So we
Mm.
have to
Mm.
believe. You only believe in something if you don't know.
Yeah.
Once you know, there's no more belief. Like I
Yes.
know. Like I used to have a belief that when you die, that's it forever. You never return anywhere. It's just lights out, nothing,
Mm.
right? And that was my belief.
Mm,
And that frightened the shit out of me and gave me a fear
mm,
of death for a very long time that I had
hmm
to overcome on my journey. And now, because of the work that I do and my experiences that I've had, and I've done a lot of plant medicine, I've also done a lot of regression therapy, and I am a regression therapist.
mm,
I know you don't die.
mm,
So I don't believe you don't die. I know you don't die. Your body
mm,
does, but you don't die. So when we get this knowing, this gnosis
mm,
of our true sort of, uh, you know, I guess existence,
mm,
purpose, right? Who we are, what we are, why we are.
mm.
When we know that at a fundamental level collectively, that shifts everything.
Mm.
When we
Yeah,
don't know it, you know what we're doing? Oh, okay, gotta go to work and pay my taxes.
yeah.
Why?
You can't unsee, you can't unknow things. Once you've been exposed to that, and that in order for you to live within integrity, so that's to be comfortable in yourself, unless you numb that out through drugs and alcohol or something else, there's no escaping that knowing within yourself. So
Yes.
it's it's amazing to me because the level of belief that you have to have for something will actually only get you towards knowing.
Yeah.
So, like, I think faith is really important. I don't care what faith you have. I think you need some kind of faith.
Hmm.
I think even atheists, like who were there, like I used to be an atheist too, was like, I have no faith. No, you have faith. You believe in nothing. That's still a belief in something.
Hmm.
So when you can start to like see how belief is the journey to knowing, it's so exciting to me because I'm like, oh, everyone will get there. It's just on their way. But
Yeah.
I'm excited because once you know, you can't unknow. It's like all the people that woke up during COVID and they're like, holy shit. You're like, I'm not getting anything now. And you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
man, you cannot go back. This is like,
Yes.
sorry, blindfolds off.
100%.
Like, I don't know what to tell you. This is your new life now.
Yeah.
You got to get comfortable with it real quick.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's my core niche right there
Mm,
is those people basically. Because I'm like, imagine your awakenings like you're stepping into this new reality, and I'm the
mm,
like the doorman that
yeah.
meets you and greets you and goes, "Hey, hey,
Welcome. Hi guys.
welcome. You're not fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Guess what? The world is. How you going to live in it now? You know?"
Yeah.
And also too, like, depending on how unaligned this version of themselves they've been portraying up
Mm,
until that point depends on how much of their life they need to change and transform.
mm,
And I've had to do that, like from pest controller to, astrologer
yeah.
and divorce and separation and relocation and all those types of things. And it's not fucking easy.
No.
So, that's my job is to sort of stand there and go, yep.
Yeah. I'm a particularly, I have to learn it the hard way kind of person.
Yeah,
And
same.
only in my last, 5 to 10 years have I kind of gone, hey, I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm actually open to any wisdom that anyone's got. So I don't have to go through that because I realized this was a choice that I was making. And like literally like pulling myself up out of the dirt so many times, being like, why am I having to learn this the hard way? This is so painful, and
Yeah,
I am perpetrating the painfulness. I have to take full responsibility for this, and only through that full responsibility can I then like move forward
yeah,
and make different choices. But I just see so many people going, oh, this, I'm a victim, this happened to me, and when I think, oh, that's just the first stage, because
yeah.
that can only last for so long, and then you kind of get sick of your own bullshit in some way. I mean, maybe they don't, maybe I don't know,
No,
but
well, that's the negative aspect of Pisces is victimhood.
yeah,
And that's where they want to put us because the victim is powerless.
yeah,
So, and then I see a lot of people post COVID that is like that made difficult choices and had their lives impacted in a difficult way
mm,
because of their choices. But then they're still the victim of like the government. And it's like, no, you have to like be grateful that you went through that experience and not
yeah,
look at it from a place of blame, you know,
mm,
because everyone had a choice and maybe the choice was difficult, but you made a choice. So take responsibility for
100%.
that.
I know
And
people that were living in cars with families. Like
yeah,
That is it. People, I have to keep a roof over my head. I had to, yeah, yeah, you did, but there were other choices. Like people moved back home with their parents. There were other choices, just not savorable ones, and you had to decide what
Yeah.
was worth more.
Yeah.
Even if you think that there wasn't, there is always choice, and that was how they got away with it because there's like the free will. You must have choice. So they
Apart from some of the really elderly in nursing homes, I don't think they
Oh
have
yeah,
much choice.
that was brutal. The
But most
unconscious jabbing.
people, yeah, yeah, or even young children that didn't get to exercise their free will and choice because it was made for them by their parents, which is
Yeah,
sad also.
hurts.
Most, like, I don't know anyone that was forced. They forced us to take it. No, they made it very difficult for you, but they
Mm,
didn't force you. They didn't hold you down against your will and say you have to take this. They just said, well, you're going to lose your job or you can't come back to work. We can't go to the footy and things. It's like, okay, that's a difficult choice. I get it, but
mm,
still a choice. And taking
yeah.
responsibility for that choice, whatever side of the fence you're on, is a big step right now
Mm,
to do. And on the side that, took it and didn't want to, it's like, well, you have to just take responsibility for that.
yeah.
On the side that didn't and still lingering in the, oh, but I lost everything and I had to go through this and how dare
Mm.
they? It's like, you still made the choice. So,
I have a lot of respect for the people who are like, look, I didn't want to do it, but I made the choice and I decided to go and do it anyway. And I'm just going to have to live with that. I know a few people who were like, I'm, that's the choice I made. I don't like it, but I did it. And I'm like, cool. And then I have the most respect for people, other than people like us who didn't get it, but the most respect for people who got it and wanted to get it because they believed in it and like still believe in it. Like the people who are still wearing masks now, I'm like, props. You did what you believed was the right thing to do and you believed in it. And I can respect that choice. Even though I don't agree with it, I can go, yeah, you lived in integral like an integral moment in your life. Like I have respect for that. The
yeah.
people who are like, oh, I didn't want to get it, but like, oh, I want to go to the pub. I didn't want to miss out on the footy. Oh, my friend's wedding. I heard so many, oh, but the wedding. And I was like, who cares about a
Yeah, yeah,
wedding?
yeah,
Like those people are like, oh, but I didn't want it, as if it would
yeah.
somehow enamor them towards me. And I'm like, it actually just makes me
Mm.
less likely to respond in that sense.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
doesn't endear you towards me. It repels me
yeah,
because it wasn't necessarily for me the choice that you made in the sense of like we're all going to have different ideas of what is the right thing to do. And I actually think it's a good thing in society. We should have varied choices. But it's for me, it's whether you're an integral person or not.
yeah,
That's what actually matters to me.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if we all make the same choice, it's a bit socialistic, right?
100%. A little bit
Diversity is
boring.
good in that sense. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, so there's still the lingering actions have consequences. Let's just put it that way.
And it's funny because I remember Rage Against the Machine made everyone get vaccinated before they went to their concert. Like of all the people who are like, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me, like singing it for years, and then we're like, yes, please, I'll do exactly what you tell me. Like,
I still like their music. I
yeah.
still listen to their music, and I still like it. But how I frame that is I look at it and go that they've obviously sold out the rights to their production or music or whatever, and whoever owns that is like that's toe the line. It's like the
Mm,
whole Neil Young thing, He's like, I'm off Spotify
mm,
if Joe Rogan's on there talking about anti-vax. That wasn't Neil Young. That was whoever owned his fucking thing, you know his creative creation, right?
mm.
Because he didn't own that anymore. But and I can sort of understand that, but yeah, for the music side of it, I know you spoke about this earlier. I still rock on to Rage. I don't begrudge them. I'm just
Yeah,
like I wouldn't go to that concert.
yeah.
And if they come again and they said you got to, I'd be like, nope. And if my
Mm.
favorite band of all time, Tool, came out and said you got to be like, I'd be like very disappointed, but I'd still like their music.
Do you know what Maynard's stance was? Because like I was listening to APC today because I've never been a Tool fan, but I came in through a perfect circle.
Right.
And I was listening and I was like, oh my God, Pet, genius, exactly like what we're talking about right now. And I wondered, I was like, oh, I actually don't know what his stance was. And I'm curious because he's got a very interesting mind.
Yeah. Look, I don't, because I've looked for that, exactly
Mm,
that. I don't think he's ever made a stance,
mm,
but he's sort of alluded, if you would,
mm,
in a particular way. But their album came out in 2019,
mm.
Fear Inoculum, and the symbol for Tool on the album cover, if you fold it in half, is a golden syringe. So they come out with a song, they come out with an album called Fear Inoculum, which is to inoculate fear in 2019 before this happened. And their symbol of the Tool logo is a golden syringe.
Fuck off.
So,
This is wild.
like straight away from me and my symbolic and occultist sort of background and astrology background, I'm like, those motherfuckers know.
Yeah.
They know. So if they know, I would, my rational mind says, yeah, they're probably on the stance of fuck that.
Or if they don't know, they're just tapped into something that, like, they're just intuitive, but not really conscious of that intuitiveness. You know what I mean? Sometimes I find people are just like, they know, but they don't know that they know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, I
But,
would apply that, but then for
but
their
Maynard being
music and what they
Maynard,
write about and what they sing
100%.
about and that, I'd be like, probably not the case with them,
Yeah.
with him
He's
in
such
particular.
a deep thinker. Like, I've met him in person,
Oh wow,
and yeah, he wasn't particularly friendly. I have to say that. Like, and fair enough. I was just some really young, like 19, 20 year old, no, 19-year-old random girl who was just like, I want to work in the music industry. Can I hang out with your band? And then, like, they were so kind and I got to do all of that.
nice.
Um, but yeah, like, very interesting character. Like, he was, I don't know how to describe him. Very just odd behavior. Like, we're just almost off-putting, because when you meet those people who are just tapped in on another level and they almost can't function or operate as a normal humans in, like, polite situations, because they're just like, no, I don't know how to be around you because I am seeing some other shit right now.
For sure.
That's kind of like what I experienced him to be like.
Yeah, yeah,
Everyone else in the band was like really lovely, very warm and welcoming.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's no
He-
him knowing that, but like pet, like 13th step, that was 2005, maybe
mhm.
2004, and Pet, like, talking about count bodies like sheep to the rhythm of the war drums, like, put your head down, go to sleep, back to sleep, back to sleep.
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's phenomenal to think there were so many people who were awake for such a long time, and we weren't a collective back then.
No,
And that's, I think, what the gift of COVID was. I was like, oh, thanks. You actually brought us all together and made us all aware of each other, and kind of made
yeah,
us band together, and like, you guys have to rely on each other now because we're not going to help you. And we're like, oh, shit, okay.
yeah,
And
totally.
humans being humans, we're like, on it. No worries. Thanks for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I've seen Tool 6 times. I've seen A Perfect Circle twice, and like that you just watch like you go through the back catalog of Tool, especially from Anonymous forward,
Mm,
and man, it's just it's writing about the journey of the soul and awakening in the shadow, and
mm,
and then the world and what's going on, and it's phenomenal, you know,
mm,
just to sort of track their music and through how it sort of set, for me in particular, it sat through my stages of awakening as well,
mm,
you know. And then they come out and I saw them in 2020 in February in
mm.
Rod Laver Arena.
Wow.
It was like a month before lockdowns. And it was like, fuck, phenomenal.
What a way to go out. Like, if we were going to be locked down forever, what a great
Yeah.
way to go out.
Yeah, I think the show I saw in Melbourne, I think it was one of their last shows before like global lockdowns happened. Yeah. And it's like they did this whole tour in North America and Europe and then come to Australia and they get all that in their new album and then COVID hits and they're gone. It's like, is that coincidence? Nah. And
So
then you
crazy.
look at the symbolism with their music and what they wrote about in that album and their logo and everything, and you're like, they have to know something, you know. So, did they know precisely that, or were they just picking up the symbolic,
Yeah.
you know? shift in consciousness. And,
Mm,
Saturn, Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, they probably thought, oh, this is going to be associated to a lot of fucking fear and the fear
mm,
of dying in particular. And that's
mm.
that's what the mechanism of control was for COVID, was the fear of death.
And that's Pluto, yeah. The
Pluto and
fear of
Saturn.
death.
Yeah. Pluto and Saturn. Yeah.
Mm,
Pluto is the like the transformation through crisis, right?
mm,
And Saturn rules death. So
right,
Pluto rules an aspect of death as well. But Pluto deals with all of the paranoia that comes along with it and the fear and
right.
and what we tend to do with death is we hide it. You don't talk about it.
Mm,
It's like it's eighth house stuff. That's Scorpio Pluto shit.
hmm.
And that's the Pluto aspect of it. But the actual death,
Saturn.
Saturn, the Reaper, time's
Yep.
up. Yeah. So the conjunction of those two happens every 40 years, and it happened in Capricorn. Happened on January 13th, 12th, 13th of 2020. And a little no unknown asteroid moved into Capricorn around the same time called Wuhan. Yeah. So yeah, astrology is bullshit.
Yeah, it's all made up, guys.
Okay. Yeah.
It's so amazing.
Mm,
I just this is the kind of stuff I'd live for. I've got a Mars in Scorpio. So I'm like, tell me more about all
yeah.
the hidden secret things. I want to know
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid. You
Yeah.
know, I'm so like deeply curious about this kind of stuff. And it just brings me so much joy to find like finding out that little nugget. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be thinking about that. I'll probably go down a little research hole later on.
Well, my Summer Sag rising, so the chart ruler is Jupiter, and Jupiter is in Cancer exalted, very
Mm,
caring, and like, oh, isn't this lovely? But it's in the
mm,
eighth house. So it's like that's where I'm at home.
yeah,
In the occult, in the mysticism, in
yeah,
all this, shit that's taboo. I'm
mm,
like, I'm comfortable there.
yeah.
None of that bothers me. I could talk about all of it.
At least you're nice and caring in that space.
Yeah, I hold that space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And oh my God, I'm going through hell. I'm like, yes, isn't it good?
Like, welcome.
Do you want a cup of tea?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of tea, I found out that fluoride, there's more fluoride in a cup of tea than there is in your toothpaste. So like all of us who are like, don't have fluoridated toothpaste, every time you drink your cup of tea, you're actually drinking way more fluoride.
What sort of tea is that?
All tea. So it's a natural byproduct of tea.
Right, so like black tea.
Black tea, green tea, doesn't matter. All tea.
Oh. So what about dandelion root tea?
Dandelion root, I reckon, would be like, because that's what I drink as
Wait,
well. I reckon it
yeah,
would be sweet. I reckon that'll be water dependent because it's a root. So it would what water is it sucking up? What water are they using to
yeah,
water it? I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
But it wouldn't be the leaf byproduct.
yeah, right.
But
Interesting.
fascinating. So all these
Very.
things that we find like I found this fascinating. Like my deep dive into the wellness world happened many, many years ago. And now it's like coming back around and being like, the balance is coming back now because I think we went too far that way and then it's
100%.
like
Yeah,
well we got to
everything's
come
going to
back now.
kill you. Literally
Yeah,
everything is going to kill you. And too much oxygen, you die. Too much water, you die.
yeah,
But yes, we don't want the things in there that are going to impede on our vessel of consciousness and its purity, absolutely. But there's got to be a balance.
100%.
Have you heard of non-dual tantric yoga as a
No,
pathway to initiation?
non-dual tantric
Tantric
yoga.
yoga. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a pathway for consciousness awakening and enlightenment. And it's from the Eastern philosophy. It has zero to do with sex.
Yeah.
Tantric yoga has been hijacked in modern times, like most things, and obscured into thinking it's like a sort of sexual thing.
Hmm.
But non-dual tantric yoga is the process of depolarizing and becoming non-attached.
Hmm.
And one of the things that there's a lot of the initiation steps that you go through. One of them is to find the most obscene thing that you can't stand that's not pure and it's disgusting to eat and go and eat it.
Mm.
So if you're a vegan yogi,
Go and
you've
have
got to
some
go and have
hackers.
McDonald's, you got to go to have Macca's
Yeah.
because if you project onto that this idea of what you think that
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
your body it's going to be harmful and toxic to your body.
Yes.
For that very. But if you stay in that
Mm.
non-dual space and it's just
Mm.
an experience, then you can eat it and it doesn't impact you. And
I
I'm
had
of
someone
that.
do that with the vaccine.
Yeah, I've known people as well that have done that with the vax.
Mm,
So it would take a very clear vessel of consciousness and very
mm,
pure and very balanced, but it's attainable. I
mm,
also know people, and one of my mentors, he's told me of a story of a friend of his that lives on just oxygen, doesn't
mm,
doesn't eat. So how is he able to absorb from the oxygen
mm.
what he needs?
The eats
No, you got to have
mana.
this, you got to have that. Exactly. So
Mm,
when it comes to like you shouldn't eat that and you gotta eat that and watch out for this, it's like all of a sudden the energy you got to expend and the fear and the worry and all of that that you've got to go into it. It's like, hang on now, it's not good for you. And even the thing that you think you're eating that's good, you're probably not eating in a healthy way anyway.
mm.
So got to be
I
balanced.
I always had so I had friends that used to say this to me, like they were like very spiritually awakened and very into the wellness side, and then they'd be drinking a can of Coke and they'd be like, oh, it doesn't affect me because I've decided it doesn't affect me and blah blah blah. And I'd be like, listen, I get what you're saying and I don't disagree, but here's the thing, we're not just spirit, we're like body, mind, and spirit. So you can't just continue to feed your body crap and just think that you're going to spirit your way out of it.
Yeah.
Everything is a balance. So you need to take care of, you also can't be a vegan and be a resentful person, and think that that's going
Yeah.
to keep you healthy as well. There's
100%.
a balance with all of it, and we need to take into consideration all of it. We can't just negate or like extremize ourselves by going to one end. Like those people, like, yeah, look, there are people who are way more suited to being like mad gurus and yogis and doing all that kind of stuff. But that's essentially a very incredibly selfish person. And I know that's like they're non-selfish, but they're not there raising kids, being a part of the community. They're not, they are focused on their own spiritual enlightenment and they have to be in order to get to that. And we need those people. Like we need people to be on the extreme ends of like selfish and unselfish and whatever it may be. We
Mm,
need self-sacrificing parents to raise really healthy children. We need all
for
of
sure.
these aspects of humanity, these different archetypes. But it's not for everyone is what I'm trying to say. Like I used to do like lots of fasting. I was talking to my best friend about this. She just did a 3-day fast. And I was like, oh, I used to do fasting before I had a kid. There's no way I could fast now. It would be absolutely detrimental to my mental health and probably my physical health to try and fast with a
Yeah.
7-year-old. Like,
Yeah.
like I couldn't do it. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure I could do it, but would it be in the optimum in the way that I used to, where I would take time off work for 10 days and I would meditate and do yoga and do all my
Yeah.
cleanses and get colonics, and I had the space and time to really sit into that. It's a different experience. Like, yes, I can do it, but am I really doing it? And for what purpose? Would I actually achieve what I needed to achieve with that? Or would I just stress myself out more, raise my cortisol, do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. What astrology has taught me is that we're all the same, but we're all very different.
Yeah.
In the sense that we're all fucking human, we all have a soul, and we all came here with purpose in some way, and some personal intention for our life, right?
Mm,
And when you awaken to that, what you can realize is that we're not supposed to be the fucking same.
yeah.
So, and you got this in many different areas. You spoke of it from a spiritual perspective and things like that. There's the whole masculine feminine war that's going
Mm,
on at the moment. And you've got one side of it, like women want to be more feminine and we need more
mm,
masculine men. And I'm like, yes, I can understand that also, but not everyone needs to be like that. Not
mm,
everyone needs to be like that.
mm,
Some people, like for some men, they're not here to be in a masculine expression of that energy. They're not, and you can see that that's not suited to them, and they're trying really hard to do that. And it's like, that's not necessarily supportive of your growth and evolution as
mm,
a soul and why you came here.
mm,
Um, so we got to sort of, find our own path
mm,
rather than just following along with like, oh, that's what you got to do, or that's what you got to do, or that's what you got to eat, or that's what you got to, it's like, if we can come back to the true self
mm,
and connect deeply to our own sort of guidance system, then we can work out, well, that works for me and that doesn't work for me.
mm,
That aligns and that doesn't align. That resonates, that doesn't resonate, rather than just adhering to some external idea, opinion, or philosophy that might not necessarily be good for you.
mm,
Like the vegans, not
mm.
all vegans as well, but some of them, they're
Yep.
eating vegans because that's the thing to do.
Mm.
You know. So
100%.
you get
Yeah,
that a
that was
lot.
something that I spoke about as well when I kind of came online, the masculine, feminine stuff, where I was like, you're just giving people a template and saying that you should do this. Whereas we're very bio individual. And those those qualities, shall we call them, that I personally believe are human qualities, are just expressed differently in other people. And I think as long as you're expressing it in a way that is authentic to your biology, so like that you're not going against your own nature, which again is individual, but yet
Hmm.
collective, like men are all going to have
Yes.
similar biology and females are all going to have
Yeah.
similar biology, but you're going to have different circumstances based on your genetics, based on the way that you're raised, the environment that you're living in now, that are going to lean more towards like expressing, like something may stress you out that does not stress your brother out or your sister out. Like you were also
100%.
raised by different parents, even though you're in the same house and the same parents, but you have very different experiences of those things. You may have the same
Right.
genetics, and then you might have a distant cousin where all your genetics align perfectly and you guys are very similar with like your health stuff, and you're like, how does that happen? It's fascinating. And to just put labels on things, I found it very unhelpful. And that was something that I found
Yeah.
myself to be very alone in that space where I was like, hey guys, no, I don't think we should be like raging feminists, but also don't think trad wife is particularly healthy either. And it's hard. It's hard to explain because there's so much nuance. And when we're on the internet, people just want this 15-second. And I'm sure you get this with astrology and your Q&As where people are like, just tell me in 2 seconds what this means. And how can you explain this? And you're like, I got 15-second stories, dude. This reel will not go for more than 3 minutes. Like this is a 4 hour conversation
Totally.
at the minimum. Like, and you're
Yeah.
asking for this and you want this dopamine quick hit fix.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that simple, but we've kind of lost that art of like communicating and relating in humanness.
Yeah. Yeah. And concentration and,
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just want that little hit, that little thing, that little piece, that little nugget.
Mm.
Tell me what to do. Tell me how to get there. Tell me about myself. Instead of like going on that personal journey of self-discovery and finding out for yourself.
Do you get
And
that heaps with your work? The people come to you going, can you tell me what to do here?
yeah, I don't get it a lot, but I do get some of it.
Mm.
Um, I tend to filter out the type of people that just say, "Tell me when I'm going to find my partner," um, because it's not. I don't think that's what astrology should be used for.
Mm.
But how can I form better relationships, and how can I overcome some of these patterns that keep showing up for me in relationships?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's sit down, let's talk. When am I
Mm.
going to find love? Mm. Like that's not what astrology's for,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But just coming back to what you were talking about before from an astrological perspective, I don't believe that astrology is doing anything to us. I just think it's the language that helps us understand how reality is unfolding. It's not necessarily causing it, it's correlating to it. And, from a masculine perspective, in a man's energy, we're looking at their Mars energy.
Mm.
And when Mars is in a particular sign, it's going to express a particular way. However, what it expresses is always going to be the same, which is your masculine energy, right? So there are 12 signs that Mars could be in, and then there are some subtle nuances and subtypes to each of those signs, depending on what house it's in, depending on what aspects are being made, depending on lots of other factors. So you just take one thing like masculinity and say we're all good. And that's astrology helps us understand. It helps us understand that there's a huge diverse way in which masculine energy can express.
Mm.
And more so for the individual is finding out how do they tune into their sort of frequency of that's right for them, right?
Mm.
And it's not saying you have to align to your chart. It's just saying you already are a certain way. Can we use that chart to help understand how you are so that you can embrace more of those natural qualities rather than trying to fit yourself into something that's not necessarily even aligned. And then people struggle, and then in that struggle, they lose them fucking selves. They become someone
Mm.
they're not, and then they're back to square one.
100%.
So, and they show up inauthentic because they're not being their true selves in their relationships. It's worse than if they were not in their masculine.
Yeah.
So, um,
100%.
I
We saw
say
that a
that.
lot with COVID too, when people woke up and they were like, I don't believe the mainstream news anymore. And they just took their belief that they used to have in the mainstream news and just started believing all the crackpots on the internet instead. And you're just like, you didn't actually learn anything here. You're still actually playing out that same pattern,
Yeah.
but you have an illusion of that idea that you have an idea of being something, but it's not embodied. It's not like you doing deep inner work to actually express yourself authentically. And that's the problem. That's why you're finding this is still painful for you. And this you're still like a victim here.
Yeah, yeah. And but I also think too that the initial phases of shifting of consciousness is the exploration of that consciousness, and
Mm,
that then the exploration period is like, well, fuck that, I'm doing this.
mm,
Eventually, I feel like everyone gets pulled to the place of doing the work and getting into integrity. It just
mhm.
they go there at varying different rates. I think eventually everyone gets there. Some
Yep.
people can realize that and go shit and get in alignment and integrity sooner. But I think collectively, it's like there's this space of when this new emergence of a consciousness or an awareness happens, there's exploration within it, and it can come out like, what you said, and they're not
Mm.
integral to it. And they're a bit like, oh, well, fuck that, I'll have this sort of thing, jumping from one thing to the next. I think it sorts itself out eventually.
Yeah, I always
Um,
imagine it like a metronome, like dunk, 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 dunk,
yeah,
like
yeah.
the we swing hard one way, we swing hard the other, and then eventually we're kind of like not hitting each other so hard, and then we kind of come into like stillness and like beingness.
Yeah. That center point.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what Saturn does. It's the pendulum, right?
Mm,
And it does this pendulum swinging. So we usually have an aversion to it. We don't want to go near it. It's a
mm,
challenge, it's difficult, it's an obstacle, it's too hard.
mm,
And we spend our time avoiding whatever that represents, and then we get to a certain point because we just get so fed up with the difficulty, the setback, and the challenge or the obstacle that just keeps showing there, that we then move the other way and we embrace it and we go like full head on into it,
mm,
and then we can go to that extreme, and then we become like fucking fully, someone that's going on their path and then just goes too far,
mm,
versus then finding that balance point. And because Saturn has a big cycle, right? So 29 and a half years or so to go through
yeah.
the zodiac, we sometimes have to wait till we're 60 to
Yep.
get to that balance point.
Yep.
Do
Yep.
you know what I mean? Like one third of our life is on this side, then the other third is on this side, and then we come back into our 60s and then we're like, I think this is it.
Can rest a
So
little
it
bit
takes
now.
time. And
Yeah.
then, there's the whole question of time. And it's like, what I understand about time is that I think time is the only thing we have. And they say, oh, you
Mm,
don't have time. You don't have time. I think actually it's the opposite. I think all we have is time, because if we're eternal, there is no time, right?
mm.
But we're being conditioned to like, well, you got to use your time wisely. And, you only got so much time. And, time's going to run out, and don't waste your time and all that. And it's like, well, really, if we're an eternal being, we've got forever.
This is
So
a blip in eternity.
yeah, this is a blip in eternity,
Mm,
but we literally have forever,
mm.
and you'll get there.
Yeah.
You'll
I
get
I
there.
I recently found out that there's another Saturn return that happens when you're 64 or something like that, someone was saying.
There's 33, and it'll be, yeah, early 60s. So it's like a mini second Saturn. So you have your Saturn return about between 28 and 30,
Mm,
and what's happening is you've got your directed Saturn,
mm,
and it's another Saturn based on your natal position, and it moves through your chart as well. And it's ahead of your natal Saturn. And then when you get your Saturn return, the transiting Saturn hits your natal Saturn, and then a few years later it hits this directed Saturn.
hmm
Yeah. So that is what they call this little mini. It's like what lessons you were supposed to learn in your Saturn return that didn't
mm.
get let learn. You get this sort of like, oh, here it is. It's
Yeah.
a few
People
years
get
later.
annihilated.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this is where Club 27 comes in, right? Like where all the celebrities and everyone like this there's a death and there has to be a death, whether it's a physical death or a death of identity or a death of like lifestyle, like a lot of people get married or pregnant, like there's a big shift that happens at this point where it's like redirection, rebirth, death and rebirth, it's all happening, which is Saturn anyway, the death.
Yeah, it's the death of the younger self.
Yeah.
Yeah, into what? Maturity, which is what Saturn is. Let's mature, let's be wise now.
Mm,
Let's be responsible, let's take control so that that aspect of you can come in, but it must kill the child.
mm,
And it's coming to terms with the killing of that child aspect of you that some people can't, and therefore
mm.
27 Club.
What's
Yeah.
the second Saturn return then for that happens in our 60s? How does that?
So the second Saturn return is all about accomplishment and what you perceive as what have you done with your life. So it can be
Right.
quite sobering because if you get to like late 50s, it's usually about 56 to 60 is when it's happening, depending
Mm-hmm.
on where your Saturn was. And, it can come in at about 56.
Mm,
But it's about, okay, from your second or first Saturn return to now is those years of production, right? Because what are you doing with your life? Up
mm.
until your first Saturn return, you're a kid. Who
Yeah.
cares? YOLO, you only live once. Let's go and fucking, piss up the world. It doesn't matter. When your Saturn return comes in, it's maturity. So now I'm doing something with my life. I'm being productive. So when the
Mm,
second Saturn return comes in towards your 60s, it's measuring that productive period. And it's like, well, am I happy with what I've achieved? And depending on what you've achieved, you can be like, feeling really good about life and I'm like just mastered my life and I'm great because I've succeeded,
mm,
or sobered because, oh fuck, I really just didn't put my shit together and here I am and I can't believe I'm 60. A third of my life is left.
mm,
Third is the first Saturn return. To the second Saturn return, that's two-thirds. So you've
mm,
only got a third, you've got less time left than you've had.
mm,
And that realization can cause people towards their 60s to go, oh fuck. I missed
mm.
my missed my chance or my
Yeah.
opportunity. And the other side of that, this is, they've pushed it on now because the system needs people to work longer because it's fucking debt laden.
Mm.
But when you're into your 60s is when you should be retiring.
Retirement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From forced work at least.
Yeah.
You're choosing to work beyond that, it's because it's a passion or it's a joy or it's a life purpose or something like that. But most people's work is like, well, I'm done now. I've given, you know,
Yeah.
at least 30, probably 40 years of my life.
To society. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge amount.
Yeah.
And at the tax rate, right, you spent, let's say it's 40 years, you spent 12 years of that working straight directly for the government.
Yeah.
It's fucked.
Fun
But yeah.
times. We never really left the Roman Empire, did we? There's tax,
Nah,
tax, tax.
nah, nope, nope, no, not one bit. We're
Well,
still fucking, yeah, the
it,
Babylonian system for sure.
I was just about to say, it's so funny, like my passion for ancient history and like knowing, like our planets are like named after like Roman names and Roman gods. And you can go back to Babylonian stuff. Like a lot of our stuff in modern comes from this ancient occult that like just no one seems to acknowledge that. Like even the word hours is like Horus, and it's all of these things are like interwoven into our modern society, and we speak them every day. We live through them every day, and we don't acknowledge where they come from or,
All
or,
the
or
days,
why they exist.
all the days of the week, all the
Yep.
months of the year.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all um, derived from the sky clock.
Yeah. It's crazy to
How
me.
society functions and how it's governed and how it organizes itself and the rules and the laws and all of that. It's all sky law, you know.
Mm,
And that's why I'm like, well, we should pretty much know then how to speak that language,
yeah.
shouldn't we? Right? But
Mm,
therein lies those that do have that knowledge control those that don't.
yeah.
And most people don't, so therefore most people are controlled. And they're so clever in the way it's been constructed that people that are controlled don't even know they are. Don't even know.
Yeah.
So it's super deceptive. It's the work of the devil. It's got to be.
Mm,
Yeah. Which is the lower self,
yeah.
basically. It's not necessarily like a demon or a devil coming to get us. It's just
A
an
man
aspect
with
of the
red
lower
horns.
self,
Yeah.
self-serving. Look
Yeah.
up Bill Donohue's stuff, he
Mm,
talks about it a lot. It's good. Um, but yeah, like fucking everything can be. looked at through the lens of astrology. And when you look at it through the lens of astrology, you go, oh, fuck, actually, everything is based in this.
Mm,
All the fundamental mechanisms of society and culture are astrologically, derived.
yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Is there, so this is the question I was alluding to at the beginning because I wanted to ask you this. Is there
Mm.
an aspect in someone's chart that makes them more likely to be passionate about music? Because
Neptune.
Neptune, okay. Because
Um,
like I noticed that you and I particularly like to share a lot of music on our stories and the way that like we have similar passions, I would say, for that. I
mhm,
did grow up with my dad was a drummer, so like I could say it's environmental, I guess.
mhm,
Um, but so did my sister, and she has nothing to do with music whatsoever and doesn't
mhm,
really enjoy it.
mhm,
Um, so I'm curious
mm.
about that, and I was just thinking about it yesterday. I was like, I'm going to ask Luke if he knows of anything that would make someone like really like music.
Yeah. So, um, fifth house energy, Leo energy, Neptune energy, Pisces energy. Um, yeah. So 12th house, fifth house. Um,
What are those for
definitely.
those listening?
Okay, so the houses of the zodiac, or the natal chart, are just sections of the sky and where planets were at the time of your birth. So we know when they were in the zodiac, right? The sort of circle of animals in the sky, but where were they in the sky in relation to you?
Mm,
And that puts them in a house. And each house has different understanding and meaning. So the houses symbolically connect to the zodiac. So the first house connects to the energy of Aries. Even though you might not have Aries on your first house, the quality
mm,
of the experience of that house is similar to Aries, and so on right through the zodiac. So fifth house, you go to the fifth sign of the zodiac, that's Leo. And Leo is about fun, joy, and pleasure, entertainment,
mm,
you know.
mm,
When we're creative. So the creative types, the artistic types, they tend to be musically
mm-hmm,
inclined, you know. And it because why? Because it's joy, and that's what music is for me.
mm,
I love music.
mm,
I think in music, I hear music, and when people speak, I hear songs.
mm.
So when someone says something or something, like in conversation, I will literally, my partner's like, and I will literally break out in the song because they've said something that's a line of a song.
Yeah, I'm the
And then
same. I'm the
I
same.
sing the song and they're like, what? And I'm like, that's a song.
Yeah, yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, so the Leo energy and then Neptune in particular is the planet of the arts, right? So
Mm-hmm,
Neptune's the ruler or co-ruler of Pisces, and Pisces is the natural sort of quality of the 12th house.
mm-hmm,
And that's of dreams and beauty and those things that are sort of mythical and magical, right?
mm,
All of that type of energy. So that's what can music do to you? It can take you away into another realm, right?
mm.
You can listen to a song and you can go somewhere. You can go back into memory through a song to like the first time you heard it or when it was playing last. It was a significant part of your life, you know?
Yeah,
I've got certain songs that are really pertinent. When I hear them now, I'm brought to tears because it reminds me of where I was when I heard that song.
yeah.
So that connection music has and that frequency that it has to take us into a dream or a nightmare or the
Mm,
past or the future, that's very Piscean. And that's Neptunian as well. You
mm,
know, it's sort of it can dissolve reality for us. Like you can hear a song and the next thing, like you don't even know where you are, and all your
mm.
problems have dissolved. And also you can hear another song and all of a sudden your problems have focused into one and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
So the potent power of it, yeah. So I would look to someone's chart when
Yeah.
they're musically inclined to look at those things. And there are other things as well, but yeah, a
Mm.
lot of Pisces energy, a lot of 12th house energy, a lot of fifth house energy, a lot of Leo energy.
Yeah.
Um,
I've just pulled out my chart now because I was like, okay, well, I gotta look at this. So
mm,
I have a Leo moon, so that makes sense for me because my emotions, like it's so music is just like the way that I feel. Being an Aquarius who doesn't feel very much, like stellium in Aquarius, my Sun, Venus, and Mercury is all in Aquarius.
yeah, yeah.
So the way that I balance that out is through having this Leo moon, so very feely, very passionate. So that makes sense for me. And I have a lot of activity in my fifth house, but my Neptune is actually sitting on the the line between my first and my 12th house.
So that's
That
a
makes
plus
sense.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool. I didn't know
that's
that.
your ascendant. That's your rising sun or your ascendant.
Mm,
So you're a Neptunian type person. So
mm,
whatever planet's on the ascendant or affect connected to the ascendant, that person becomes that type of person.
mm. I'm a
And
Cap ascendant.
Capricorn.
Mm,
Yeah. So um, yeah, you were also born on a full moon as well. So that's the Leo moon,
mm,
Aquarius sun. Um, Yeah. So was going to come back to the Neptune quality. Yeah, I mean that's the dreamer, that's the musically inclined person. It's also
mm,
the addict. It's the creative person.
mm,
You find a lot of actors and actresses that have a lot of Neptune energy. So yeah, and Neptune gives you this sort of like ability to interact with your environment in a
mm,
very musically inclined, creative way.
mm,
And so you find Neptune people are good photographers, they're good singers, or they listen to a lot of music, or they
mm.
create, or they're visually just those types of people. They've got a great imagination. And I think that's the other
Yeah.
quality of music too, is that it can trigger your imagination,
Mm,
you know? So literally you can be off with the clouds because you heard a song.
mm. That's
Yeah.
100% me. I was driving today and I was like, oh, that I don't know where I am right now. That was pretty dangerous because I was listening to something and it took me back. And I was like, how did I just drive the last kilometer? I don't know. I don't know
You
how
end
I
up
got
somewhere and
here.
you go, I don't know how I got here. Yeah.
100% very dangerous. And it was through
Well,
music. I just went back to where I was when I was listening to that.
yeah.
I was totally transported, almost
Yeah.
very viscerally. I was like, wow, that's some
Yeah.
powerful stuff.
Yeah. So you also then with Neptune in Capricorn, is your Uranus in Capricorn?
I don't know, to be honest with you. How do I find that out? What if I'm looking at my chart?
Oh, there'll be a symbol near Neptune that looks like a little
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's my 12th house. Yep, I can see it.
yeah.
It's right, like my Neptune's here and then my Uranus is there.
Yeah, next to each other, that
Yep, and
conjunction.
it's in Sag.
Yeah, okay. Both of them in Sag or like towards the end? One's in
Um,
Cap, one's in Sag.
yeah, so my Neptune is in Cap, but it's on the line of the Sag, where the
Yeah,
Uranus
okay.
is in Sag.
Yeah, yeah. Because they had their conjunction in Capricorn and they would have Neptune had moved into Capricorn and then Uranus caught up. Yeah. And what year were you born? Yeah. That's a interesting generation because those Neptune, um, Uranus people here, they're the dreamers, but they're also the innovators. So
Mm,
it's like you guys have got to like find new creative ways to shift and change and um, innovate for us. You
mm.
know, so
Especially
yeah,
with my Aquarius as well.
yeah, very futuristic
Hmm.
thinking and see things as they should be, and
What?
therefore, so go.
No, I was going to say, what does it mean if someone's got empty houses? If there's nothing in that?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean anything in and of itself, an empty house. If you have a lot of planets in a house, then you've
Mm,
got emphasis in that area of life.
hmm,
But if you look at the chart to circle,
mm,
and each part of that chart represents a different aspect of your life,
mm,
and all of your life is important and equally as important as each other aspect of your life, right? Your health is just as important as your role as a mother, your home, your work, your relationship. Everything's equally important, right? Nothing's. Sometimes though, we sacrifice one part for another and we suffer because why? We're not whole and we're not balanced.
mm,
So that's the first thing to understand is that just because there are no planets in a particular house doesn't mean anything in and of itself. There are in modern astrology we use 10 planets and there are 12 houses. So
hmm.
every birth chart will have an empty house of at least
Right.
two. Um, you can add more placements, so asteroids and comets and things like that to sort of fill it up, and then all of a sudden all the houses are full. But the
Understood.
modern astrology approach is the seven traditional planets and the three modern planets, which gives us the 10. And we would look at the sun and moon as planets, but they're luminaries. So there's always going to be an empty house. Now, what you do with an empty house is you look to the sign on the cusp of the house,
Mm,
and then you find the ruling planet of that sign.
hmm,
So every planet rules a sign. Some planets rule two signs. And then you look for where that planet is, and that planet is going to tell you about that house.
Mm.
Yeah. So for me, on my seventh house cusp is Gemini. That's the house of relationship.
Hmm.
And the ruling planet is Mercury in my ninth house. All of my long-term relationships have either been I met my first girlfriend when I was living in London, ninth house, right?
Hmm.
I met my wife when she was traveling from her home place,
Yeah.
right? Ninth house.
Yeah.
Um, I met my next partner after that when I'd moved long distance.
Yeah.
And then I met my current fiance when we both were moving long distance. So
Wow.
this idea of the ninth house with my relationships is
Mm.
prevalent in
Yep.
this idea of like they're not just the girl around the corner,
Yep.
you know? And then the other thing about the ninth house is it's about our worldview and our belief system. So that's important to me when it's a relationship. We have to share the same belief,
Values.
yeah, values when it comes to
Yeah.
how we see the world, you
Yep.
know? And wherever I've clashed in partnerships before is because we haven't aligned in that area. And it's like, well, the ruling planet is in that area for my relationship house, my
Mm.
relationships. My ruling planet is in my ninth house. So I have to make sure that that's important. And if for some reason the other person doesn't respect or value my worldview or my belief system,
Mm.
it's going to be really hard for me to maintain a relationship long term because I'm going to have to, hide that or not share that to
Yep.
maintain the relationship. So that's to give you an idea that my seventh house has no planets in it
Mm.
at all. Now, if you just looked, oh, there's no planets, this is when I have no relationships. Like I've had lots of relationships.
Mm.
Gemini on the cusp, so
Yes.
lots, many,
Yep.
many, multiple.
Yep.
So that's how you sort of look at an empty house
Mm.
is you go, okay, what's the quality of the sign there? So that's going to help shape that area of my life.
Mm.
Gemini as well, it's a sign of communication, but also
Yep.
opinions and ideas. Funnily enough, I tend to attract women that have a lot of Gemini energy. So my current fiance is Gemini rising, Gemini moon. My girlfriend before that was Gemini sun. Um, and then my first girlfriend and my marriage, they were both Aries, but they had a lot of Gemini energy too.
Mm.
So it's interesting that that quality comes through my seventh house, and
Mm.
I meet those types of people. Um,
It's
so
just
yeah,
familiar energy, right? Like that's what you're
yeah,
picking up on. You're like, this is comfortable for me because this energy is already existing in this place. So now when I meet that in reality, I'm like,
and
comfy, like it.
also to the seventh house, it's opposite the first house. The first house is the self. The
Mm.
seventh house opposite. Often the quality of the seventh house is something that you need to integrate, but only do it through relationship because it's outside of you, right?
Hmm.
So that's another thing as well that you find these qualities within these people in relationship. It's like, oh, that you need to learn how to integrate that quality. Then you're
Mm.
learning how to integrate that quality through another person.
Mm.
So it's like a missing piece. It's like, oh, it comes in through a partnership.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
So
fascinating.
yeah, yeah. So you gotta know the cusp, the sign on the cusp, which is the border between each house. There's a little planet
Mm.
symbol for the sign, and then you got to look up what the planet that rules that sign. And again, what I want to teach people is that we should know the elements. Fire, water,
Mm.
air, earth.
Yes.
We should know the signs of the zodiac. We should know their
Hmm.
qualities, and we should know their ruling planets and what they represent. And we
Hmm.
just we don't need to interpret and look at charts and do all that, but we should know that so we can just go, oh yeah, that's Gemini, that's Mercury.
Yep.
That's Taurus, that's Venus, that's
Yep.
Scorpio, that's Mars. I think we should just know that, like we know ABC 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And why do we know ABC 1, 2, 3? Because they indoctrinated us with that. They
Yeah.
taught us that and made us repeat it until we learned it. Well, why can't we do that with this?
Yes.
Imagine
100%.
if everyone had the basic understanding, we would connect and relate to ourselves and each other and the world in a much, much better way
Mm.
because we'd have an understanding.
Yeah.
Because we'd understand, oh, we've all got a Mars, we've all got a temper,
Yeah.
yeah? And we've all
Yep.
got challenges, we've all got a Saturn, we've
Yep.
all got our needs, which is our moon. So, and again, I stress that it's like astrology is not doing this, it's not causing this, it's just the language that we use to understand reality, and we are part of this reality.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. That's I find that kind of stuff really fascinating, and I find that like the crossover between like astrocartography as well and like that kind of stuff. And when you do astrology for planets or governments, like the larger social astrology as well as the individual astrology, and then having all of those elements come together and kind of like line up like a really intricate puzzle. And I just like, oh, that all makes so much sense right now. I find that so satisfying. I find it very peaceful. Maybe it's my need for knowing, in the Aquarian way. But
Aquarium.
yeah, but I'm like, it's very settling for me. And I just don't understand how people are not fascinated by these things. Like for me, I'm so like, yes, more of this. I agree. We absolutely need to be teaching children this. Like if we can, I teach my child like all of the planets through a song.
Mm,
And so now he knows all of the planets. And then we'll go into talking about what each planet means and all that kind of stuff a little bit later on. But it'll
yeah,
probably be done through music as well, because that's
yeah,
how we learn. It's the
yeah.
easiest way to remember everything. That's why we learn ABCs, as you said, like through a song.
Hmm.
It's Why wouldn't you arm your children with the most knowledge you possibly could to survive in the world? Like that's my philosophy towards, I'm like, if you can, why not like do it?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely. But that's another reason why they want you working. So you have to put your kid into
Yeah.
government funded education system at a very, very young, impressionable age.
Ain't nobody got time for that. You
Yeah.
got time for that no more?
They don't want us self-teaching and
Mm.
homeschooling and all of those
Yep.
things. That's why it's ostracized and
Mm.
ridiculed and things like that. So I get it. That was one of my angst when I woke up was you motherfuckers. Like there's intention behind this. It's not just
Mm.
accident. We didn't accidentally just wake up into this system. Like this has been designed this way to enslave and entrap our consciousness.
Mm.
And it's been done for generations and generations and generations. And every time we raise our head a little bit, they reset us with
Mm.
some big next propaganda agenda.
Yep.
So it's there's a part of me, the Saji in me is like, fuck you, motherfuckers.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like I'm anti-establishment,
Yep.
anti-empire, anti-fuck that. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And with the like that's the other thing. Like this is just someone like how we live on this earth right now as a collective is just someone's idea.
Yeah.
It's a shitty idea, really.
Yeah.
It's just an idea that's all it is. So I'm hopeful though that we can radicalize that and revolutionize that and
Mm.
shift it because we could be abundant, we could be just free, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
And I think like, not to blow smoke up your ass, but I really think that the way that you deliver things, it makes such a difference to the way that people receive it, because so many people, because of the indoctrination and like it's woo woo, and so when they're like, hi eternal beings, welcome to your astrological reading for this wonderful joyous new moon that we're having in Gemini right now, and you're just like, people can't hear it, they cannot hear that, they cannot receive that information because you're playing against the indoctrination, you're playing against the propaganda.
Yeah.
Whereas you're just out there like, yo, this is what's real. This is fucking shit. And also, this is what's happening right now. But don't worry, because we got this coming in and that means this. And people are
Yeah.
like, oh, cool. That's just like a dude who knows shit, who's telling me shit. I can hear that
Yeah.
because it's not like you don't have to buy into an identity in order to like absorb your information. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate that about the way that you share, and I just think it's so crucial. And I hope more people listen to you and more people feel drawn to become astrologers and do exactly the same thing and be like, oh, I've got a way of communicating that like people can listen to as well. And I'm going to go meet that niche over there. But I think, yeah, I think that you've really hit the nail on the head with that level of maybe it is the anti-establishment in you, but it like the anti, even the anti-woo-woo establishment. Do you know what I mean? You're just like, I'm not doing that. And
Yeah.
I think that's so needed.
Yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you. That was my thing was like just to be real. Like be fucking
Mm,
real. You know, you don't it doesn't have to be that way. And that's when we hyper spiritualize things like that are just normal and natural,
mm,
it dilutes it, I think.
yeah,
And then it's easy to just to go, well, I might as well just go and read the fucking horoscope in the magazine
yeah,
because it's probably as important as that shit.
yeah,
Which is not at all.
yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. So, and for some people, perhaps, but yeah,
I
I,
like it because you're like, look, it's a tool.
it's a
Like
tool.
you
It's
can learn
it's a
to use
it,
this tool, pick it up,
yeah.
use it.
And our ancestors, they spent a long time refining this tool and the knowledge
Mm,
of this tool and protecting this knowledge and in they thought it was so sacred, the knowledge of astrology, that they embedded the wisdom into the stars,
mm,
right?
mm,
If you want to pass something on for generation to generation to generation, you want to store information, where do
mm,
you put it? You
mm,
can't put it on a book, you can't put it in pages, you can't even carve it in stone because eventually it erodes away.
mm,
If you put it up there,
mm.
it's there for all eternity.
Yeah.
It's there, and that's fantastic because it's there for everyone can look up.
And then you build the biggest motherfucking monuments that have ever existed to face
Honor.
the stars and certain processions at certain times and certain, astrological constellations like Göbekli Tepe, like the pyramids, things
Yep.
that a world flood could not destroy,
Hmm.
like something so big that it's like, hey, look here. We
Yeah.
were looking here at this time for this reason. Pay attention.
Yeah, totally. But no, there's something more important on my phone. I'll just
Yeah. Oh, and no, but don't worry about the pyramids. They were just like burial chambers for priests and pharaohs and stuff. But like, we didn't find any bodies in there. But they're definitely burial chambers. And like, did you hear about what they all just found recently under the pyramids with all the
oh,
tubes
the
that go like
columns and things like that. Yeah,
they
yeah.
go like hundreds of miles down now? So they've had a second discovery, and they're like, not. It's not just 2 miles underground.
Right,
It's like
right.
100, 200 miles
Yeah, wow.
underground, and
Yeah.
all of them have it, and the Sphinx has it, and they're all connected. There's like a whole chamber system under there now.
Mm, mm.
There
So,
is
welcome to the
some stuff,
Aquarian age and
100%.
Pluto into Aquaria and Pluto into Aquarius, sorry. What's coming to light is all of that buried shit,
Yeah.
literally. Yeah, all the buried shit and buried knowledge, buried wisdom, right?
Mm,
Aquarius is the water bearer. That's wisdom. That's what that represents, and it's wisdom from above. And
mm,
above is just the higher self, but Pluto moves in there, so that wisdom, that gnosis, that knowledge that's coming, but it's being unearthed
mm,
because Pluto is in the hell realms, buried deep below,
mm.
and into where what this represents. If you look at what that's happening with the pyramids and all of this discovery, that's symbolic of the awakening of this level of knowledge that's deep buried within each of us,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Because it's buried in your genetics, it's buried in your DNA, it's buried in your essence, your fiber, your cells, it's buried in the very thing that makes you you. It's buried in there. That's the
Mm,
Pluto part, right? It's being buried. So yeah, and as more we see more of that happening in the outer world, it's a correlation to what's going on in our inner worlds.
yeah.
So as above, so below, as within, so without. If it's
Mm,
happening out there, it's happening in here. So
mm.
I'm excited about this.
Me
Like you
too.
said earlier, it's like, yeah, fuck yeah. Let's do this
Let's
shit.
go. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
keen.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
unbury everything. Let's do it. I mean, maybe don't open like sarcophagus that have been like
Fuck it.
auspiciously
If they're
closed.
hiding jewels.
You want to like, we just found like a 5,000-year-old mummy that has a spell, an incantation on the seal, and we're going to open it. I'm like, don't do it. Have you not seen any movie ever?
Yeah,
What are
yeah,
you doing?
yeah. Oh
But
shit.
otherwise, I want
Then we
to
need the
know what against it.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, or literally the mummy.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
But otherwise, I want to know all the stuff, and I am the same as you. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I'd rather know than not know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think
Yes.
it's probably a good place to wrap this up. So,
Cool.
can you tell people where they can find you if they want to have like because you do actual personal readings, not just like talking smack on the internet. You do this as a living, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fortunate enough to be able to create a living doing this.
Mm.
So yeah, I do this. I also do past life regression therapy and I do energy clearing healings.
Mm.
So the easiest way to find me is through any social media platform. You type my name in, Luke Balcke, Balcke. And I'm very accessible. So if you send me a message, you can get access to me. I've got a website, and you can book directly through there for all those types of things. And then on the different platforms, I put up, smack all the time. So
I love it.
come watch
And
some
good
smack.
music.
Yeah, it's got to be. Or it's just, yeah. If you could get paid for creating soundtracks or the right songs to put on things, I think I'd be pretty rich.
Yeah, same. So your
Yeah,
past life regression and your energy healing does that have to be in person?
it's all remote.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It's all
Excellent.
remote. Yeah, actually do a lot of regression therapy and have, yeah, pretty much since for the last 3 years been remote doing that. And yeah, as long as you've got a computer and you can lay down somewhere you won't be disturbed, we can regress you. The good thing about doing it online is it's all recorded, easily. So,
Well, remember I was telling you about my psychic that I've been saying he has been telling me for years. He's like, you need to find a regression therapist. So, Luke, I might have to book in. I didn't know.
absolutely.
I didn't know that you did this. This is so like perfect alignment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I got trained during COVID. That was my lockdown thing to do was go and, learn
Nice.
how to do it. I was following a guy I really respected online in the US, Q Reeves. He's a
Mm,
fantastic regressionist and he's an occultist. And yeah, he inspired me to want to look deeper into it. And then I did the Dolores Cannon training
mm.
and yeah, been doing that ever since. So it's phenomenal, the regression therapy. I find it
Mm.
works well with astrology and the type of work I want to help people with in astrology is to evolve. And sometimes to evolve, we've got to
Yeah, gotta go
regress.
back.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll put all your information in the show notes as well. And
Amazing.
yeah, thank you so much for coming on and having a chat. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.